Okay, we're gonna say a little Dvar Torah from the Satmar Rebbe, Zechrona Bracha, Divrei Yoel, on Zos Chanukah. The eighth day of Chanukah is called Zos Chanukah. Okay. Tam L'Kriyas Yom HaShmini B'Shem Zos Chanukah. Why is the eighth day of Chanukah called Zos Chanukah? This is Chanukah. So first of all, the Bnei Yissaschar says that Chanukah comes from the term Chinuch. Chinuch means education, also means hergel, to get someone ready to do something. Davel Avoida, get something ready to serving God. We're teaching children. So the days of Chanukah are called Chanukah, which means chinuch, education. Actually, Chanukah, we're getting ready for the future redemption. That when Mashiach comes, it should be very soon. That when the Chanukah lights are shining, we're actually revealing the hidden light that will be when Mashiach comes. And that this is hinted to in the verse in the book of Psalms. There I'm going to make a horn sprout out for King David. That's the light of the King Mashiach that comes, the King Messiah who comes from the house of David. That's what it says. And I am setting up a candle for my anointed one for my Mashiach. That's so we see that that's what it says in the Bnei Yissaschar and my Beis Ois Ches, Zion, also other places. The Rebbe says we see from here that the miracle that was then was really the beginning of the future redemption, and the power of the Chanukah candles will bring us to the ultimate redemption of Mashiach. Similarly, we see from the Yismach Moshe, who's the great-great-grandfather of the Satmar Rebbe, it says, why do we have an eighth day of Chanukah? The eighth day of Chanukah, and we're going to get to why this is a question, the Satmar Rebbe. That the eighth day of Chanukah is on a higher level than even was in the original time of the original miracle of Chanukah. Because the eighth day of Chanukah says the Yismach Moshe, the Uller Rebbe, that it was without any help from the bottom, from below, from human hands. It's only from God. And that's how the future redemption is going to be when Mashiach comes, that we're waiting for. It's going to be a higher level than anything that was ever before, because the salvation of the Jewish people will be through God Himself without any action below. And it's forbidden to make the redemption any actions. We have to wait patiently for God. That's what it says above. And we see that the preparation, the chinuch, the education for the future, the preparation for the future, that's only on the eighth day of Chanukah. Because the other 7 days, we're remembering the miracle that was in the times of the Chashmonoim, that was through actions and through wars. But to get this higher level, that the lower levels are not doing anything, any action, that's only in the eighth day. So we find that this day is set up to be Chanukah, to be education, to be preparation for the future redemption that will be by God Himself without any help from below. And since the name Chanukah is because of chinuch, education, preparation for the future, that preparation has to be on the highest level. And that's why this day is called Zos Chanukah. This is Chanukah, because this day is the main education, the main Chanukah, the main preparation for the future that we're waiting for. And the other days are only called Chanukah because they're connected to this day, because through those 7 days we come through this day, which is the main Chanukah. And through the power of this miracle that was then we get to the higher level that brings down the future redemption. And the main thing is that we're preparing for the future, which is the completion, and the main thing. That's why called Zos Chanukah. This is Chanukah. And through this we can answer another answer to the famous question of the Beis Yosef, which is even earlier in the Tosfos Arash. Why do we have Chanukah 8 days? really Chanukah should only be 7 days, because it was only 7 days of miracle. It's not a miracle for 1 day of oil to last for 1 day, so it should only be 8 days. So there are different answers for that, and his second answer that he gave is that right away on the first day was also a miracle, because the oil filled up right away after they poured it out. And so the Prach asks, how could that's so? Then what happened on the 8th day? The 8th day it didn't fill up again. But in our way, but the answer to that could be is that still that was miraculous oil even on the 8th day, even if it didn't fill up again on the 8th day, it came from a miracle. And his question, it says, so really the 8th day should not be a miracle, but we can say no, that even the 8th day was a miracle. And we can explain this very similarly to what the Holy Maharal from Prague, Zichron Livracha, wrote about Passover. And I was worthy to be by his grave this year, Baruch Hashem, thank God, and his shul. The Maharal said, why do we have, everyone knows that we pour a kos for Eliyahu on the Seder night of Passover, that we have a 5th cup for Elijah the prophet, that we're making 4 cups for the four terminologies of redemption that are written in the Bible for the redemption from Egypt. That was only a temporary redemption. But we also have to do something to hint to the future redemption, which will be permanent. Meaning in Egypt, that was temporary. We went back to exile again. But in the future, when Mashiach comes, that'll be permanent. Therefore, we make a 5th cup. We pour a 5th cup, which is the cup of Elijah, to hint to the future redemption. That will be the good news will be told very soon through Elijah the prophet. Zachar L'Tov, he should be remembered for good. And for this reason, we open up the door for his in honor of Elijah the prophet, to show that we cannot have a full redemption except through the coming of Elijah first, and to announce the coming of Mashiach, and that's the sign of a true redemption. So we shouldn't, God forbid, be fooled and make a mistake to follow a false redemption, a false Messiah. That's another reason. That's what the book of Maccabees says, what you're saying there, but we're following the Talmud that says it's for the 8 days. Okay. Through this, so we see that the 8th day of Chanukah is in memory of what we're doing, the miracle of Chanukah. Even though the miracle of the lights was only 7 days, we make the 8th day in memory of the future, to mark what's going to be when Mashiach, to mark the future redemption that will be in merit of these Chanukah lights. That in the time when we're making, because we're remembering what's going to be, we're remembering the past, just like remembering the redemption that was in the time of Chanukah, in the time of the Hasmoneans, Chashmonaim, we also have to remember the future redemption. And interestingly, the Shlach Kadosh says that the Medrash says in the future the Jewish people are going to say a song for the future. So what does it mean? The Shlach Kadosh says that because we have so much faith, the Jewish people have so much faith in God and His promises, that His name be blessed forever, that His promises are going to be a redemption. We're going to come first, before the redemption says, and sing for the miracles that are going to be when Mashiach comes. And we're thanking God for the miracles that are going to be, even when we're still in exile and the miracles that haven't happened yet. Even though they haven't happened yet, our faith is so strong in God that it's as if they happened already. And through this, that's why we're making now, even now, an 8th day of Chanukah, to remember and thank God for the miracles that are going to happen in the future when Mashiach comes. That in the future redemption that will come through Elijah and Mashiach from Her B'Meinu Amen. Okay. Yeah. So 8 is above the level of time. It's a supernatural number. 7 is the number of nature, and 8 is the number that is above nature. Okay. V'gmar chasima tova, and you should all have many blessings, and we'll see it later. Probably now that I have the camera here, we're going to make more classes, and they'll be announced on Facebook. Alright. God bless.